For centuries, the map did not just change because of borders. It changed because two empires refused to share the same world. On one side stood an empire of memory, the Byzantine Empire, the last breath of Rome, guardian of ancient knowledge, a civilization of churches, gold mosaics, and deep diplomacy. On the other side rose an empire of momentum, the Ottoman Empire, young, hungry, disciplined, forged by the sword, driven by faith, speed, and the promise of expansion. They did not simply meet in battle, they collided in destiny. The duel between them was not fought in one place or one year. It stretched across centuries, from the plains of Anatolia to the walls of Constantinople, from Balkan valleys to Aegean seas. Byzantium fought like an ancient tree with deep roots. It defended itself with walls thicker than time, clever diplomacy, alliances, marriages, and treaties. The belief that Rome could not die, its strength was patience. Its weapon was survival. It stood behind the legendary Theodosian walls, triple lines of stone that had broken the armies of Persians, Arabs, and Crusaders. Empires came and went, but Constantinople remained, until a new type of empire appeared. The Ottomans fought like a rising storm. They did not negotiate with the past. They wanted to replace it. Their strength was fearless cavalry, disciplined Janissaries leaders who grew up in war, the new language of power, gunpowder. Where Byzantium relied on memory, the Ottomans relied on momentum. Where Byzantium looked backward to Rome, the Ottomans looked forward to empire. Two worlds, two ideas, one stage. Who would own the crossroads of continents? Europe and Asia watched. Christianity and Islam watched. Merchants, princes, warriors, monks, all felt the tension closing like a fist around Constantinople. This was not simply a duel for a city, it was a duel for history itself. If Byzantium won, Rome would live on. If the Ottomans won, a new world would begin from Istanbul. And in 1453, after centuries of pushing, surrounding, fighting, and waiting, the duel reached its final act. Cannons roared, walls shook. The ancient world and the rising world faced each other on the same stones. Only one would walk away. Before they fought each other, we must first ask a simple question. Who were these empires? Were they just armies and rulers, or were they entire worlds colliding? Who were the Byzantines? They called themselves something surprising. Not Byzantines, not Greeks. They called themselves Romans. So here's the first question. How can an empire be Roman when Rome was already gone? Because in their minds, Rome had not died at all. It had simply moved. It moved east. It put on Greek language. It wrapped itself in Christianity. And it crowned Constantinople as its heart. They were the heirs of Roman law, Greek philosophy, Christian faith, ancient science and art. They preserved books that would later spark the Renaissance in Europe. But another question appears. How does an empire live for 1,000 years? Mostly by surviving. They mastered a different kind of power. Not brute force, but diplomacy, not numbers, but strategy, not speed, but endurance. They bribed enemies, married princesses to rivals, made treaties, broke treaties, stalled wars, and outlived everyone who attacked them. They were the memory of the ancient world walking through the Middle Ages. But memory alone cannot stop time. So another question rises. What happens when an empire of memory meets an empire of ambition? Who were the Ottomans? From the steppe, from small tribes, from warriors without cities, rose a new force. They did not come from marble palaces or ancient libraries. They came from tents, horses, and battlefields. So we ask, how did a small frontier state become an empire stretching across 3 continents? The answer is simple and powerful. Belief plus discipline plus opportunity. They believed expansion was destiny. They built an army unlike any other. The Janissaries, raised from childhood for loyalty and war. They embraced new technology, especially gunpowder and cannons, faster than anyone around them. Another question, what happens when warriors learn to rule and rulers refuse to stop conquering? You get the Ottoman Empire. They were Muslim rulers of Christian, Jewish, and many other peoples, conquerors who also built cities, mosques, bridges, schools, politicians, generals, philosophers, architects all at once. They saw Constantinople not as a legend, but as a target. Two identities, two dreams, one stage. So who were they really? An empire of books versus an empire of swords? An empire of memory versus an empire of momentum? An empire trying not to die as an empire trying to be born? Maybe the last question is the most important. Was history on the side of the old world or the new one? Because soon their paths would cross at the walls of a single city, and the answer would shake the world. Strength is never simple. Empires don't rise because they have swords or walls. They rise because they discover what they are truly good at. So, what made these two empires powerful? What made the Byzantine Empire strong? At first glance, Byzantium doesn't look like a warrior empire. It looks like mosaics, churches, libraries, gold. But behind the beauty was something sharper than any sword: intelligence. The Byzantines mastered survival as a strategy. They knew when to fight, and more importantly, when not to fight. They used diplomacy to turn enemies against each other, bribery to buy time, marriages to create alliances, treaties to delay wars, spies to learn before others acted. They ruled from the strongest fortress on earth, Constantinople, protected by triple walls that stopped Persians, Arabs, Crusaders, Vikings, almost everyone. They also had something mysterious and terrifying: Greek fire, a liquid flame that burned even on water. Their strength was not speed, their strength was endurance. They preserved Roman law, Greek learning, and Christian faith while the rest of the world collapsed and rebuilt itself again and again. Their greatest weapon? They could outthink enemies who tried to outfight them. What made the Ottoman Empire strong? Now turn to the Ottomans. Their strength was the opposite. They didn't wait. They moved. They were born from frontier warfare, from small raids and survival on the borders of collapsing empires. From this, they learned three things: discipline, organization, momentum. They created one of history's most unique armies, the Janissaries, elite infantry taken young, trained for loyalty only to the sultan, drilled into perfect coordination. They embraced technology with open arms. Where others feared gunpowder, the Ottomans turned it into empire. Huge cannons, muskets, siege artillery. They used the future to break the past. Their leadership mattered too. Sultans like Osman, Orhan, Murad, Mehmed the Conqueror, Suleiman the Magnificent were not only rulers, but also commanders who rode into battle with their men. They ruled over many peoples, but aloud. Local languages, local religions, local customs in exchange for loyalty and taxes. This turned enemies into subjects and subjects into partners. Their greatest weapon? They never stopped moving forward. Two different kinds of power. So what made them strong? Byzantium was strong because it remembered. The Ottomans were strong because they advanced. One survived by thinking, the other conquered by acting. And when these two strengths finally collided, the world changed. Empires do not only fight for land, they fight for ideas behind every sword, behind every wall, behind every cannon shot. There is a story a civilization is trying to prove true. So what were the Byzantines and Ottomans really fighting for? Let's ask the question directly. Was this a war for territory or for the right to define the future? What did the Byzantine Empire fight for? The Byzantines were not just defending a city, they were defending an identity. They believed they were the last Romans, guardians of Christianity, heirs of Greek wisdom, the continuation of a 1,000-year story. So another question appears. If Rome dies in Constantinople, does Rome die forever? To the Byzantines, the answer was yes. Every brick in the Theodosian walls, every mosaic in Hagia Sophia, every dusty law code in their libraries said the same thing. We are the last barrier between the ancient world and chaos. They weren't dreaming of vast new conquest. They were fighting not to expand, but not to disappear. They fought for memory, faith, tradition, the belief that time itself could be stopped. Their idea was simple but powerful. If we hold the city, Rome still lives. What did the Ottoman Empire fight for? The Ottomans fought for something different, becoming. They were not the last of anything. They were the first of something new. They believed they were chosen to unite Muslim lands, rule the crossroads of the world, replace old empires with a new one, prove that history moves forward, not backward. So they asked a different question. If the old world blocks the road, shouldn't the new world break through it? Their flags did not look backwards. They looked towards new cities, new armies, new laws, new horizons. They fought for expansion, legitimacy, a capital worthy of an empire, control over trade between Europe and Asia, and above all, Constantinople. To them, it wasn't just a city, it was the missing piece of destiny. They believed, if we take this city, we take the world with it. The real war, past versus future. So what was the true clash of ideas? Not Christianity versus Islam alone, not Greek versus Turkish alone. It was bigger. It was the past trying not to die versus the future trying to be born. It was walls versus cannons, manuscripts versus gunpowder, memory versus momentum. One side said, we exist because we always have. The other side replied, we exist because we will. And at the center stood a single city whose stones had heard the voices of Caesar, Constantine, crusaders, merchants, monks, sultans, and soldiers. When the final battle came, cannons did not only break stone, they broke an idea, but another question still remains. Did the Ottomans truly destroy Byzantium? Or did Byzantium quietly live on inside the Ottoman world that replaced it? History is not only written by winners, it is written by those who changed the world. The Byzantine Empire guarded the memory of the ancient world. The Ottoman Empire carried that world into a new age. One fought to preserve the past, the other fought to create the future. And on the walls of Constantinople, those two ideas finally met. Was it the end of Rome or the beginning of something new? In truth, it was both. Empires fall, cities change names, flags rise and disappear, but ideas survive in languages, in buildings, in cultures, and in us. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy history told like this, stay with us. Like the video, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. Which empire do you think truly shaped history? Byzantine or Ottoman? See you in the next story.